This is a story of getting Java and Pi4J running on ARM and RISC-V BananaPi boards. It didn't go the way I expected. But after finding a recent OS handling multiple GPIO exceptions and diving into chip and Linux kernel documentation, I finally got a LED blinking. This is the first time I have Pi4J working on a non-Raspberry Pi board. This video is part of my 2026 series testing Java on single board computers with different processor architectures. Today I test two boards from BananaPi, the BPI-M4 Zero, an ARM board, and the BPI-F3, a RISC-V board. I got both boards for free from BananaPi, but the supplier doesn't control what I show here. First, my apologies to BananaPi. I already received these boards early this year and it took quite some time to create this video and blog post. First, a quick recap on the two architectures. ARM is the established player. You know it from the Raspberry Pi. It has a mature ecosystem built over decades. RISC-V is the open alternative. No licensing restrictions, full transparency into the hardware. ARM still leads in raw performance and tooling, but RISC-V closes the gap fast. You can find more detailed info in this blog on my website. The main conclusion is the real difference isn't speed, but openness. With RISC-V, no single company controls the instruction set or charges license fees to use it. Any manufacturer can build a chip around it and even extend it with custom instructions for their own use case. Let's start with opening the boxes. The BPI-M4 Zero cost 44 euros earlier this year. Today it costs over 140 euros for 4 GB of memory plus 32 GB eMMC. The shortage in memory chips hit every board maker this year, not just BananaPi. But important, this board comes with eMMC, so you don't need an SD card for the OS, although I'm using one in my tests now. You have to take this also into account if you compare the price with the Raspberry Pi Zero 2, which has only half a gig of memory and no eMMC storage, but it's the same form factor. The BPI-F3 went from 80 euros to over 200 euros for the 16 GB version. Same story here, RISC-V and ARM boards both get more expensive this year. This board is quite a lot bigger compared to a Raspberry Pi, so it serves other use cases. It also has 2 network connections and other ways of connecting peripheral devices. When preparing for this video, I wanted to create SD cards with the operating system. BananaPi has no imaging tool like the Raspberry Pi Imager, and I had to dig through their documentation, follow some broken links to find the right OS somewhere hidden. Links are in the video description and in the blog post. You will end up somewhere on a Google Drive with a version which dates back to 2024 or 2025. With the SD card prepared with the Raspberry Pi Imager tool, I could boot the M4 Zero. It went straight into terminal mode. In the first boot, it asks you for a root password and you can create a user account, and if you want, you can also provide Wi-Fi credentials. I use a network connection here in my test setup. After that, it's ready and reachable over SSH, which can make it a lot easier for testing from a remote computer. I installed Java 25 with SDKMAN and also added JBang. Then I could run the Hello World and JSON parsing examples from the Pi4J JBang repository. Java runs fine on this board, no surprises as expected. As we know, Java is very well supported on ARM. The M4 Zero that I received didn't have a 40-pin header and I wanted to try out the Pi4J library. So I had to solder one myself. To be honest, it didn't go smoothly. The solder wouldn't stick to the pins, so the end result is not really clean. I don't know if that's my fault. I'm not a really experienced solder guy, but this was pretty hard to do. But with the header on, I tried Pi4J version 4 with the FFM plugin, which should be compatible with any Linux version on this type of board. And I wanted to control an RGB LED over the GPIOs. With the header soldered, I tried Pi4J version 4 with the FFmpeg plugin. That plugin should be compatible with all Linux versions on this kind of single board computer. And I wanted to toggle RGB LEDs connected to the GPIOs. When starting the Pi4J JBang application that we have ready for this, it detects the board as a Raspberry Pi 1 Model B, so not a BananaPi, and it seems to be that this board in the operating system has the same board code. I also needed to fix some permissions. There is a script for that in the Pi4J OS repository. After applying those permission fixes, I still hit an exception in the FFmpeg plugin, and yeah, it could have been related to the old outdated Linux kernel that's used in this OS, which is Linux kernel 5, and we always tested the FFmpeg plugin with Linux 6. So that led to the assumption that we should find a newer version of the OS image. After some searching, I found a newer one, an ARM-based build with an XFCE desktop, flashed that to the SD card and restarted my testing. Again, needed to fix the permissions, and the code filled now with a different error. And as a software developer, we know a different error is actually progress. It's progress, but still not working. But it gives us something to investigate. And here's the problem. On a Raspberry Pi, the pin number you pass to Pi4J, the setting that you apply in your code, matches the chip's own BCM GPIO number. There is no translation that you need to do. But the BananaPi M4 Zero uses a different chip with its own GPIO controller and its own numbering. So it's the same 40-pin header, but completely different for the numbering. BananaPi's own pinout table gives us the first clue. The physical pin 16 maps to PI15, so it's GPIO bank I, pin 15. Allwinner, so the chip that's controlling this, groups the GPIO pins into lettered banks of 32 pins each. After installing GPIO-D and running GPIO info on the board, I get a full list with all the available GPIO chips and lines. Two chips here, GPIO chip 0 with 32 lines and GPIO chip 1 with 288 lines. 288 is exactly 9 banks of 32. That means that GPIO chip 1 is the controller behind the 40-pin header. To turn a bank letter and pin number into a line offset, the value that we need in the code, you need to multiply the bank index by 32 and add the pin number. So bank I is index 8. So PI15 becomes 8 times 32 plus 15, which equals to 271. I verified this with GPIO set, a command line tool to toggle GPIO lines directly from the terminal. Setting line 271 to on GPIO chip 1 turns the red lit on. Setting it low again turns it off. So that confirms that line 271 on this board is really physical pin 16. We did the same check for green, so there it's PY16 becomes line 272, also checks out to be true, but blue is where it gets interesting. So the wire that we used on the Raspberry Pi for this exact same example is on physical pin 22. On this board, it turns out that pin 22 is a 3.3 volt power pin. So it's not a GPIO pin at all. That means that blue will be always on if we use the same wiring. I moved the blue wire to physical pin 23 instead. That maps to bank H pin 6. And if we do the calculation again, we end up with the value 230. Again, verified it with GPIO set. And that means that we know the values now that we need to use in the Java code. I updated the JBang RGB-LED.java script, and I also added bus 1 to target GPIO chip 1 because default in the FFmpeg plugin in the Pi4J library, bus 0 is used as the Raspberry Pi has its GPIO controller on bus 0. And I also swapped the line numbers. Now I ran it again, and this time the RGB LED blinked through the whole test, first through the colors, then the Morse code of Hello World, and at the end it ends with a white LED, so turning all the three colors on. That means that this is my first working Pi4J example on a board that isn't a Raspberry Pi. That was one of my goals for this year, and we can now mark it as done. Now over to the BPI-F3, again with a quite outdated operating system, but we'll see how far we get. It boots straight into a desktop mode, which is much nicer for a first look at a new board. This chip is a RISC-V, so we know from earlier experiments that SDKMAN doesn't work or doesn't give you any available Java versions. So I installed OpenJDK 25JDK with apt, and it pulls in an early access build of Java 25, probably related to the outdated OS image itself. Now, how do these boards compare to the other boards that I tested before? I ran my SBC Java benchmark tool on both these boards, and also did that on the Raspberry Pi Zero 2. I didn't do that before. So because this is the closest rival to the M4 Zero, at least it has the same form factor. On the website, on the SBC page, on my blog, you can filter and compare all these boards yourself on the benchmark page, and the link again is available in the show notes and in the blog post. A few highlights. The BPI-M4 Zero beats the Raspberry Pi Zero on every benchmark, which is quite predictable. It has more memory and a higher CPU speed. The FG K-means test finishes in 64 seconds on the M4 Zero, while the Zero 2 doesn't finish at all inside the 10-minute timeout that is defined. On the benchmark both boards complete, the M4 Zero runs up to 50% faster. The M4 Zero even beats the pricier BeagleV-Fire on all 5 shared benchmarks by 5 to 24%. That's impressive for the cheapest, smallest board in this whole comparison. On the RISC-V side, the BPI-F3 lands close to the OrangePi RV2 within 2 to 5% on every benchmark, and it pulls well ahead of the older BeagleV-Fire. 2 benchmarks failed to complete on the F3, so take these RISC-V numbers with a grain of salt, also given the fact that the operating system is a bit outdated. Now, some conclusions. Performance-wise, both BananaPi boards surprise me. The M4 Zero is the cheapest and smallest board. You have to take the fact into account that it has more memory than the Raspberry Pi 2 Zero, and it has onboard eMMC storage for the operating system. It totally outruns its direct rival if you just look at the form factor and also the pricier boards in the other tests. The F3 performs very well against other RISC-V boards too. What didn't surprise me is something we've seen from the other boards that I also compared in this series of videos and blogs. There is scattered documentation, the OS images are outdated, a lot of broken links in the docs or unclear documentation, so it's something which keeps returning. These manufacturers make great boards. Documentation is in most cases a big problem. The GPIO mapping also cost me a lot of time because of the different numbering system and the power pin where I didn't expect one. But that was a one-time research which is now documented in this video and blog, but also added to the Pi4J website. So it becomes a reference for myself in the future and everyone else who wants to try this. I managed to have a blinking RGB LED with Java code and Pi4J on a board that's not a Raspberry Pi. So I reach one of my goals for 2026. Overall conclusion regarding single board computers, the price is no longer the selling point it used to be. Memory shortage pushed the price up for every board this year from all the manufacturers. But past that and the setup hassle, Java, JBang and even Pi4J now run fine on these BananaPi boards. If you work with Java on BananaPi, RISC-V boards or other brands and want to share your experience, drop a comment or find me on Mastodon or the FuJ community. Links below and in the blog post. Thanks for watching.